Hey guys, it's Jordan from the Affirmation Project. So this is a new channel I've started to discuss some ideas that I find myself pondering most days. I was hoping to start a community via YouTube to discuss these ideas. And the reason the channel's called Affirmation Project is because something that we all want is to have affirmation that we're not crazy, that there are people like us out there who think the same way. So I started this because I've been feeling a bit lost and disillusioned with society, the world, the truth community itself. So I just want to get things off the bat. This isn't a channel for entry level truth seekers or conspiracists, whatever you want to call it. This is for people like myself who have been down all the rabbit holes. We've listened to David Icke, we've read his books, we've listened to channels on YouTube, we've explored flat earth, etc. All these different rabbit holes that lead to nowhere. If you want to go learn about that, I'm sure there's plenty of other YouTube channels. God knows I've been through them all. I've been on this journey for about, I would say, 5 years since I initially woke up. It means different things for different people. And it's just ever since been a disillusionment, disbandment from society and the world and how things work. And obviously, if you can relate the frustrations of why people can't see it, why people are sucked into materialism and society's games. I made some notes because I'm not very good at getting my thoughts straight. This is my first kind of YouTube video, so you're going to have to bear with me. I'm sure I'll get better at presenting and be more interesting as we move forward. But I've just been jotting down thoughts for discussion, things that pop into my head after I watch certain channels that I like to watch and topics they discuss. It gives me ideas and different ways to look at things that hopefully you'll find some value in. And we can discuss in the comments about what's really going on. So some things I wrote here is it's very important for me to talk these thoughts through. And I know that people like yourselves who will, be attracted to this video or it'll resonate with you, feel the need to have the affirmation that you're not crazy and that other people can talk about these things and have an intelligent conversation about them. One of the most frustrating things to me is finding people to even talk about this stuff to, who won't just shut you down as an absolute crackpot or just glaze over when you start talking, like they're not comprehensible to even discuss these topics because it's not what they see on the television programming every night or when they went to school. So yeah, discuss that. As I said, there's going to be no production value to these videos. It's just going to be me in front of a camera discussing the videos. I didn't want to hide away and put those robotic voices behind the video. It takes away from the genuineness and the intelligence of the conversation. There's no trust there if you're doing that stupid robot metallic voice. I'm sure you've heard it on some conspiracy videos. Instantly that's a sign to me of this is garbage, turn it off. So I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to be relatable. I'm in my late 20s, male, originally from the UK. Recently, in the last few years, been living down the other side in Australia. A lot of the topics that tend to get discussed are from a very USA-centric angle. Most conspiracies, so it's hard for people around the rest of the world, unless you've grown up within that system, to kind of relate. To stuff like the JFK assassination, 9/11, because we weren't really there. So I'm going to try and discuss more higher level than, the rabbit holes of 9/11. I'm not going to be going into that. As I said, you can find other channels if you want to hear that. In terms of the production value, I'd just see what's happening on YouTube anyway. The channel would instantly be banned or I'd have copyright strikes the moment I tried to include footage or video or things that I want to discuss. So the way I tend to listen to the YouTube videos is I would lock myself in a room, or when I'm going to bed, I would put them on my phone, not even look at the screen, and just listen to the thoughts that people have to say. I find it much more better to have a visual of what people are trying to say rather than be force-fed the images of what to think. So then it's coming from a more pure place instead of, the option to be manipulated by imagery or the way that people want you to think or their point of view. I feel it's very important to have your own point of view. One of the topics I'm going to be discussing in a few episodes is, are we capable of original thought? Have you honestly ever had an original thought in your whole life? Or are we just regurgitating things we see, things we perceive around our environment and ideas given to us? So let's see how far down here we are. Yeah, one thing I want to make clear, guys, we need to leave our ego behind within these discussions. As I said, if you're tracked to this channel, hopefully you're familiar with the term ego and what I'm talking about. I'm not going to be delving into these basic concepts, so hopefully we're all on the same page. There's no room for ego. I can't stand these conspiracists, truth speakers, seekers. I need to find a new label for all that community who are so righteous, are so right, and it just really frustrates me when people have that opinion. The first thing we need to understand is that we know absolutely nothing. We know nothing at all about what's going on. All we can do is speculate, form ideas and opinions, and recognize that they are opinions and that we have been manipulated and shaped to form those opinions. So it's important to recognize that straight off the bat. And if I ever catch myself letting my ego get in the way, then I'd expect you to call me out on that in the comments, and I'll be the first to admit when I've been swayed that way, or if I'm having a bad day or someone's annoyed me and that's swayed my bias on events. So the way I see it is, just to start off, there are three possibilities for us at this present moment, three things I've thought about. Number one, if you're going down this conspiracy route and you're in the same disillusionment, disbandment from society that I am, you do have to consider the fact of, is it us? Are we crazy? Is the reason that no one else can see it is because it's not there? There is logical explanations for everything. Yes, obviously there's levels of corruption around government, media, but that's just human nature. There's nothing more dark and sinister going on. The reason we create these illusions to ourselves is because we're imaginative people looking for an outlet. Maybe we're depressed. Maybe we're looking for more meaning than there actually is in the world, which is a very depressing thought, because if there's nothing going on and nothing behind all of this madness and craziness in the world, then truly I do think we have something to be depressed about. So I'm really hoping it's not option one. Option two is that we're right. The things we perceive, the things we talk about, we're absolutely right about them. Simulation theory, flat earth, whatever you want to talk about, discuss. What if you're right about it and people just generally can't see it? People are so far gone that the frustration will be there for people like us. Say there's 1 million of us in the whole globe that see through the fraud of what reality is. Then again, that's another depressing thought, but at the same time, it's very liberating to think that you are right and you're not crazy. And then the reason why people can't see it, you run into other topics which I'll be discussing, such as NPCs, non-player characters, the ways that people have been manipulated from birth not to see this kind of thing, the way society is set up to not lead us down the path of truth. So that's option number two. Still better than option number one, I feel. And option number three, I think it's somewhere in the middle. Everything's not black and white. There are shades of grey. So let me put it to you like this. We're not intelligent enough to understand what's going on, but we get a sense that everything isn't as it seems. So in some ways, we're not crazy and we are right about certain things. We just don't have the intellect or awareness or the consciousness level to even apprehend what's going on. It's beyond our even fathoming of a subject, for example, like the ritual of 9/11, how that happened. Maybe it's not as simple as materialism and directed energy weapons we used, all that stuff. Maybe it is something beyond our comprehension, almost, if you want to call it, magic, or the fabric of reality itself is somehow manipulated beyond what we can understand. The way I explain that best to people would be, if you take a dog a dog has a relatively high IQ within, the animal kingdom, if you suppose. I think a dog's IQ might be around 30 or 40. Let's say if we took a dog who can understand certain aspects of reality and what goes on, and we put it in a warehouse the moment it was born, a big warehouse. We set up a garden in there, a house, but it never had any interaction with the outside world, and everything was controlled within that warehouse to certain parameters. The dog would never have any comprehension of the globe. Oh, whoops, I said globe. The reality that exists outside of the warehouse. So the dog would believe that everything that exists within this world exists within that warehouse, and he would have a very narrow band of understanding of the way that things work. And we could trick a dog into believing that because its IQ is so much less than ours. Say our IQs are around, I don't know, I think it's 120 or something, don't quote me on that. But if we've got 4 times, 3 times the intelligence of a dog, and we can trick it and manipulate it into believing that that is the universe, then why are we so arrogant as to believe that we're top of the food chain, we have the highest IQs, and that there aren't entities, humans, call them whatever you want to call them, that possess higher levels of knowledge and understanding, and that are capable of doing the same thing to us, putting us within that box, within that warehouse, and manipulating us to believe that things are a certain way, when outside of that we can't even understand or comprehend how things really work. The dog in the warehouse doesn't understand how the phone I'm speaking to now operates or is put together. Most humans don't. The dog definitely doesn't. So who's to say these entities aren't performing things within our reality that we have no way or comprehension of understanding, and never will until we access higher levels of understanding and consciousness. Even if it was laid out and explained to us the way that this reality works, we'd never have any idea or be able to understand what they were explaining it to us. It'd be kind of like them speaking to us in double Dutch and we only speak English. They might be telling us the truth and what's happening, but we have no way of deciphering that information. So that's option number 3. We're somewhere in the middle, but we're not intelligent enough to understand it. And that brings me back to the point I was making earlier. We need to leave ego behind in these discussions. We don't know everything. Nobody's certain of the way that anything works, even if you got a fancy title or degree or business card, or you've been in the truth community for 10, 20 years. So we just need to leave those 3 options on the table. And as I run through topics, I'll try and always refer back to those 3 options, just to remind ourselves and humble ourselves that we're not completely right. So that's the basic gist of the channel. Hopefully it will attract like-minded people, and it will help people to understand that you're not alone, you're not crazy. There are other people that think the way that you do and have been down the conspiracy rabbit holes and are tired of it. We just don't want to discuss how certain fake shooting events played out, or how 9/11 happened, or how the central banking system works. So yeah, hopefully guys, we can just try and support each other and figure it out. And if you point me towards content I might be interested in the comments, I'd really appreciate that. And hopefully the channel will, I don't want it to grow, even if I have 50 people who can contribute, and it's helping to understand that they're not alone, and that maybe things they're going through because of this journey, people have been through it before them and people are going through it around them. Hopefully that will give me a greater sense of purpose as well, which is something I'm definitely struggling with at the moment. So yeah, as I said, name's Jordan, channel Affirmation Project. I'll see you next time.